Welcome to Crossroads. The United States is moving forward with plans to prepare for a potential war with the Chinese Communist Party. Now, satellite photos show that U.S. troops are now reclaiming a Pacific Island airfield from World War II, notably one of the ones that was used to launch the nuclear attacks on Japan at the end of the war. Now, this aligns with recently announced strategies that the United States would establish a network of airfields through the Asia-Pacific region and then staff them with troops who are trained to fill multiple roles. This is happening as global conflicts are expanding in the Middle East, in Latin America, and Europe, and also elsewhere. Now, first on this particular airfield. This is located on the remote island of Taiwan, one of the three principal islands of the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands and administered by the United States, technically a U.S. territory. Now, Taiwan is under 40 square miles in size and located approximately 1,500 miles south of Tokyo, something that was of strategic value during World War II when the island was the launching point for two U.S. bombers, again, that dropped the atomic bombs in the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And now U.S. troops are looking to reclaim an airfield on that island. Newsweek said this: an overgrown airfield on a small island in the Pacific, once instrumental in America's role in ending World War II, is being reclaimed by the U.S. Air Force as it prepares for a possible future fight with China. And notes the island is in a similar distance to China and other flashpoints in Asia, with the U.S. Defense Department plan costed at nearly $500 million, now preparing it to help the United States deter or defeat the Chinese military. And notes that after the Allies captured Taiwan in 1944, the U.S. Navy immediately began constructing what was the world's largest air base at the time. And notes that in August 1945, North Field, at that place, launched the two bombers that carried out the first and only wartime use of nuclear weapons in human history. The dropping of atomic bombs, Little Boy and Fat Man, on Japan effectively ended the war and spared American troops from a bloody and costly invasion of the Japanese mainland to force the empire's surrender. Now, it notes that more than half a century later, unused and in disrepair, Northfield, one of the two there, is being brought back to life under an Air Force operational concept called Agile Combat Employment, or ACE, which disperses units and capabilities into smaller groups. And it's under the Pentagon's Pacific Deterrence Initiative, which puts China's multi-domain threat at the forefront of U.S. defense planning. 3 projects will add airfield operations to Taiwan for refueling, takeoff and landing, and parking, all in support of operations in the vast Indo-Pacific theater. Now, U.S. Air Force senior leaders actually visited the Mariana Islands on ACE trips in April of this year. They went to Taiwan, they went to Saipan, they went to Guam, 3 U.S. territories, right? Now, this is the Secretary of the Air Force Public Affairs in April. They said that while in the Mariana Islands, the senior leaders met with elected officials as well as airmen who are expanding Agile Combat Employment capabilities, ACE, in the area. Now, note that on Taiwan, the senior leaders observed the adaptive rehabilitation work being done in the North Field in support of ACE. The airmen there are restoring over 20 million square feet of degraded World War II pavement so that ultimately the rejuvenated runway can serve as a power projection platform. Power projection notably in the Asia-Pacific region. Now, we discussed this ACE concept before. This looks like a strategy designed to fight back against the CCP's Assassin's Mace strategies. Now, what is the Assassin's Mace? The Assassin's Mace is a Chinese Communist Party strategy meant to basically blind and take out the key enabling factors of the U.S. military. It means taking out our satellites. It means rapid attacks on the things that enable our fighting force. Rather than trying to take out America's jets, they want to take out America's airfields so the jets can't take off in the first place. Rather than take out America's missiles and take out our troops and so on, they want to take out the satellites that allow for communications and missile guidance. They want to take out the systems that are the eyes and the ears of our military, make it so they can't communicate, so they can't find where they're going, and make it so that we can't use the assets that they can't fight against if they were to take it from the front. And so the Assassin's Mace strategy uses all these different asymmetrical weapons, all these asymmetrical concepts. And the other side of it is, of course, rapid attack, destroy the key capabilities, do surprise attacks, bring America to its knees, and bring them to the negotiating table maybe within a week or 2 weeks. That is what the CCP's war plan against America would look like. What is interesting with this new plan the U.S. is doing, though, the focus they have on that region, the building of these pop-up bases, the entire A strategy, looks like it's designed to try to disable some of the key components of the Assassin's Mace strategy. Now, this airfield in Taiwan also has historical significance. It's likely the Chinese Communist Party is taking its role in Hiroshima and Nagasaki as an indirect threat also from the United States. Now remember, one of the big threats coming out from China and Russia and North Korea now is nuclear threats. The entire CCP kind of axis that's emerging right now, one of the deterrents they're using to prevent, for example, the United States from intervening too strongly in the war in Ukraine, from stepping in too far in the Arctic, from coming in too hard when it comes to Russia and North Korea and the CCP working together in their region, is they keep making nuclear threats. They're using nuclear threats as the deterrent. And so what is the U.S. doing? Well, it's putting up missile defense systems all around these areas. It's putting missile defense systems in Europe, despite Russia's threats against that. It's putting missile defense systems now in Japan, now in the Philippines. Possibly they might even try to get them back in South Korea, which caused a big diplomatic issue between South Korea and China previously. But if they build up these bases and defense systems on U.S. territories, Guam, Saipan, Tinian, that means the U.S. is also expanding its reach within that area to create a kind of deterrent against the deterrent, so to speak, to make it so the CCP would not be able to use that type of threat. And now also, right, the Asia-Pacific region is increasingly becoming a hotspot in this expanding kind of global conflict we're now watching. Russia is even holding show-of-force operations alongside the Chinese Communist Party in that region. I'll be talking more about this after we come back from a quick break.
Experts agree, one of the best ways to protect against financial uncertainty is to diversify your portfolio. Learn how physical gold and silver can secure your retirement funds from today's economic challenges with a gold IRA from American Hartford Gold. You can safeguard your wealth with no penalties or taxes when you transfer your current qualifying retirement accounts. Call now and our precious metals specialists will send you a free information kit, no cost or obligation. American Hartford Gold, a trusted industry leader with an A+ from the Better Business Bureau, has a 5-star rating from thousands of happy clients. Whether you are getting physical precious metals in a gold IRA or delivered to your doorstep, we offer only the highest quality gold and silver. For your peace of mind, we also offer a no-fee buyback commitment, a low-price guarantee, along with free shipping and free insurance. So don't wait. Call the number on your screen today and secure your financial future.
Welcome back. The Asia-Pacific region is increasingly becoming a hotspot in this whole global conflict we're now watching. Now, Russia is even holding a show-of-force operation alongside the Chinese Communist Party in that region. This past week, in fact, ships from both Russia and China have conducted missile and naval artillery firing exercises as part of the Ocean 2024 drills. These exercises span the Pacific and Arctic Oceans to the Mediterranean and are considered one of the largest post-Soviet military exercises. This included ships from Russia's Pacific Fleet and Chinese Navy vessels. And it's important as well because they launched it off the eastern coast of Russia to an extent as well, which has implications against Alaska and into the Arctic region, as we briefly mentioned, which they've again, Russia and China, have been even, for example, flying bombers into the air defense zone of Alaska, directly threatening the United States by doing so. Now, Reuters said this. They say Russia's defense ministry said those drills were part of much larger maneuvers involving more than 400 Russian warships, submarines, and support vessels in the Pacific and Arctic Oceans and the Mediterranean, Baltic, and Caspian Seas. A very large operation in many different parts of the world. They note that China's official Xinhua news agency said on Monday that the aim of the exercise with Russia was to deepen the, quote, level of strategic coordination between the Chinese and Russian militaries and enhance their ability to jointly respond to security threats. meaning again part of their defense pact with each other. Now interestingly, we're also now seeing Western European countries holding show-of-force operations there as well, something that's also a big shift for them. Politico said this. They said China's military on Saturday criticized the transit of 2 German Navy ships through the Taiwan Strait, saying it increased security risks. And as that Beijing's forces had monitored and warned the vessels, it added. And the Taiwan Strait, it says, is a major trade route. Germany says, hey, we're not doing military threats with this. We're just taking the shortest route. And given the fact this is a major trade route, of course, we have to go through it. The Taiwan Strait, as it notes, is a major trade route. Several countries' military ships use the waterway, including the United States. But this is the first time in 2 decades that Germany's Navy has done so. This is according to German media reports. And that's the German ships were traveling from South Korea to the Philippines while doing this. Now, again, Germany can say, hey, this is just part of a freedom of navigation operation. This is a major tradeway. We have to go through it. We're taking the shortest route. The really important part, though, is that Germany doing this freedom of navigation operation is also being framed in the context of NATO, given that Germany is a NATO member. And remember the context of that. When it comes to Russia and Ukraine, and of course the war taking place in that region of the world, that's becoming a direct threat against NATO. And many countries in that area, notably, are trying to push back against it. They've now determined, including with the United States and NATO, that the Chinese Communist Party is one of the key enablers of that war. Meaning that if they're going to end that war, China, the CCP, is the main factor they have to focus on. Disabling that support network means bringing an end to that. And so they're pushing back now not just against Russia, but also against the CCP. And notably, Russia's move to the Asia-Pacific region as well is also in this context, and also that Russia has a no-limits agreement with the Chinese Communist Party. The two of them have agreed basically to defend each other and support each other through all means. And in addition to this, the Chinese Communist Party and Brazil, under Lula now, are trying to push a peace treaty for Russia and Ukraine. And notably, interestingly, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is openly now rejecting the Chinese Communist Party's proposal. Reuters said this. President Volodymyr Zelensky has dismissed a Chinese-Brazilian peace initiative for the war in Ukraine as destructive and complained that Kiev had not been involved in the process. They note that Zelensky said the initiative lacked respect for Ukraine and its territorial integrity. Now, look, this is important because Ukraine had been holding meetings with Chinese Communist Party leadership on this proposal. But it now seems the CCP's proposal, well, it's not a lot different from what Russia wants to gain in the war in the first place, right? Something in favor of this whole global axis, so to speak. And they're viewing it basically that agreeing to the CCP's terms are like surrendering to Russia in the first place. Now, this is also in context of Ukraine now having something to bring to the negotiating table. One of the big problems Ukraine had previously in terms of making a peace deal, of ending the war, was they didn't really have any cards to play. They were purely on the defense. Ukraine is now going on the offensive. It's now begun invading Russian territory, and it's working on getting approval, notably, to fire long-range missiles into Russia, something Russia is threatening back, saying they might even strike the West, including possibly with nuclear weapons, if they allow this to happen. And the United States is also pushing for Europe to turn its sights not just on Russia, but on the bigger conflict now brewing, and especially with the way the CCP ties in with this. I'll be talking about this more only on EpochTV.com. So if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, X, Rumble, there's a link in the description below. Click on that. You'll get access to the rest of this episode, as well as our whole library of shows and our hard-hitting documentaries and issues that matter, like the Chinese Communist Party's 100-year plan to defeat the United States. The CCP is one of the biggest threats to America. They're using things like propaganda, video games, entertainment, movies, culture, to subvert and influence the next generation. If you'd like to find out more about what the CCP is plotting against America, watch my documentary, The Final War, the 100-year plot to defeat America. You can find the link to that in the description below, and I'll show you all the trailer before we go exclusively to EpochTV.com for the rest of this episode. I'll see you there.
The greatest threat facing the United States is the CCP.
The Epoch Times investigation team had studied the CCP for years, but what we uncovered was yielding evidence beyond our imagination.
With Chairman Mao, with the Prime Minister, our talks have been characterized by frankness.
The Clinton administration said, oh, don't worry about it. This will be a poison pill for China.
China's strategic goal is to make sure that the U.S. has 4 enemies, and one of them must be a terrorist group.
We are giving of our life's blood so that the Chinese Communist Party can survive and thrive.